Hello and welcome to the program The Maze on ASO Television. I am Rosemary Ukokotega. The Maze is the summary of all proceedings at both chambers of the National Assembly every week. It comes away every Friday at 8 p.m. That is, at this time. It is nice to have you. Welcome to this week's edition. Our top proceedings for today.
387.
Consideration and adoption of special committee report on tax reform bills.
The long title of the bill. Thank you very much. Thank you for carrying. Thank you for a good job. Thank you all.
Carry.
Thank you.
Motion urging Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend planned ATM transaction charges increase at the Green Chamber. Introduction of Gender Equity Bill at the Senate. We are live from GSTV 392, Star Times TV 127, Free TV 507, UHF Band 38. Also, all editions of the news are on ASO Radio and Television YouTube channel. Just a moment before we get down to details.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
You're watching our legislative program, The Maze on ASO Television. Straight down to details. We begin on the floor of the Green Chamber. One top proceeding was the motion urging the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to suspend its planned increase in automated teller machine ATMs transaction charges. This is standing in the name of a member representing Asian Central, Asian West, Iguaben Federal Constituency of Edo State, Mr. Marcos Onnagun.
The House are aware that the Central Bank of Nigeria, in its new circular, has reviewed the ATM transaction fees stipulated under Section 10(7) in the CBN Guide to Charges by the Banks and other financial and non-bank financial institutions, prescribing an increase in ATM withdrawal charges and discontinuation of free ATM withdrawals from customers using the bank ATMs, thereby imposing additional financial burden on Nigerians. Also aware that Section 10(7) of this guide was last reviewed in 2019, reducing ATM transaction fee from 65 naira to 35 naira per transaction. Note that according to the new policy, the customers' withdrawals from other bank ATM will continue to enjoy free withdrawals. However, a fee of 100 naira per 20,000 naira withdrawals will be applied to customers from other banks transacting from ATMs within the bank premises Similarly to customers from other banks transacting from ATM outside the premises of the banks, mall, marketplace, and public places. Disturbed that the citizens of Nigeria are already grappling with the multiple economic hardship, including high inflation, electricity tariff hike, and numerous banking service charges that significantly reduce the disposable income and negatively impacting on the economic welfare of its citizens. Worried that the imposition of additional ATM withdrawal charges will further limit the financial inclusion of Nigerians by discouraging low-income earners from accessing bank services, thereby contradicting the CBN financial inclusion agenda. Cognizant of the fact that the banking sector has continued to record significant profits, imposing further charges on customers without corresponding improvements in service delivery or infrastructure is unjustifiable. Accordingly, resolve to urge the Central Bank of Nigeria to immediately suspend the implementation of this policy pending proper engagement with the relevant committees on banking, finance, and financial institutions. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Another motion moved by a lawmaker from Nasarawa State, Mr. Jonathan Brevis, sought the development of alternative strategies to resettle and integrate original inhabitants of the FCT and other residents of the city. Here.
The House notes the initial misconception regarding the Federal Capital City as a no man's land, and Decree 3 of 1976, which created the Federal Capital City territory, and provided for the resettlement of persons within the territory. However, due to the high cost of implementation, the administration opted for part resettlement and integration. The House is aware that most of the land, especially the portion known as the Federal Capital City, has been provided with basic infrastructure. The House is also aware that in some parts, on some areas like parts of Garki, Jabi, Daki, Biumabushi, and Guzape, have areas of planned and unplanned settlements coexisting. The House is worried that the indigenous people are gradually being choked by urbanization, which is also destroying the cultural and historical heritage of the natives, while the same areas are currently turning into slums and safe havens for criminal activities. The House is also worried that the Department of Resettlement formulated 5 resettlement policies and initiatives at different times, but all have yielded little or no results. Cognizant that if this trend is left unchecked, it can lead to serious problems in the future. The House therefore resolves to, number 1, urge the Federal Capital Administration to formulate policies to guide the resettlement practices within the FCT. Number 2, mandate the Committee on FCT Area Councils and Auxiliary Matters to liaise with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory and other alternative and profile alternative ways of resettling or integrating indigenous and other persons residing within the Federal Capital Territory, and also mandate the Committees on FCT, Area Council, and Auxiliary Matters and Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance and report within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I so move.
One other issue that arose interest of lawmakers at the House was the need to block internet websites hosting pornographic contents and sanction defaulting internet service providers. This is standing in the name of a Katsina lawmaker, Honorable Dalhatu Tafoki.
Aware that Nigeria is a highly religious country and all the major religions in the country have forbidden nudity and obscenity in any form. Also note that the countries across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East have enacted legislation that ban pornography in their domains. Aware that renowned psychologists and sociologists around the world have issued stern warning on this psychological, sociological, and mental consequences of viewing pornography contents. Concerned deeply that some of the immediate effects of viewing pornography contents include A. Causing deception in marriage and which may later on affect family life. B. Promoting adultery, prostitution, and many oral expectations that can result in dangerous, promiscuous behavior. C. Leading to addiction, escalation, desensitization, and the acting out sexually by one person. Resolve 2. 1. Urge the Nigerian Communication Commission, NCC, to direct the internet service providers operating in the country to take immediate steps to block all websites that host obscene and pornography content. 2. Also urge the Nigerian Communication Commission to apply the full rigors of the Nigerian Communication Act and National Information Technology Development Acts needed against the defaulting internet service providers. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Finally, from the Green Chamber, the House received reports of all four tax reform bills as laid by the Chairman, House Committee on Finance, Honorable James Faleke.
To provide for taxation of income, transactions, and instruments, and for related matters, HB 1759. Mr. Speaker, thank you. I so move.
The House also considered and adopted the same report within the week.
It's my pleasure to invite the Chairman, Committee on Finance, to give us synopsis of this particular bill. So with your kind permission, if there is no any issue with the brief given by the Chairman, for us to proceed from clause 1 and see how far we can go on this particular bill. So clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10, clause 101 to 110, clause 111 to 120, clause 121 to 130, clause 131 to 140, clause 141 to 150, clause 151 to 160, clause 161 to 170, clause 180 to 181,
Carry.
clause 181 to 182,
Carry.
182 to 183,
Carry
184 to 185, 186 to 187, 188 to 189, 189 to 190, 191 to 200, 200 to 210, 210 to 220, 221, 222, 223.
Carried.
The schedules, explanatory memorandum, the long title of the bill. Thank you very much. The second report to be considered is for an act to repeal the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act number 13-2007 and to enact the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill to establish Nigeria Revenue Service charged with powers of assessment, collection of and accounting for revenue accruable to the government of the Federation and for related matters. The Chairman, please.
I will just summarize, Mr. Chairman, with the synopsis. Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill 2025. This bill repeals the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act and establishes the Nigerian Revenue Service as agency saddled with the responsibility of collecting all federal laws while collaborating with other revenue agencies across the three tiers of government. The functions, powers, funding, etc. of the Revenue Service are elucidated in the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill. Mr. Chairman, the only major inputs we added, Mr. Chairman, is presently, as constituted, the Federal Inland Revenue Service have what they call coordinating directors. They have 8 coordinating directors, and they are all civil servants, and they are appointed internally by the chairman of the Revenue Service. We believe that this does not allow for proper checks and balances. And so, Mr. Chairman, we recommended that if the House do approve, the directorates will be 6, and one from each of our geopolitical zone. And we also added, Mr. Chairman, because we know that a geopolitical zone, for example, Northwest, they have 7 states. And we ensure that there is fairness and there's federal character principle even at that level. And that if Mr. President wishes to appoint these directors for these directorates, he must follow alphabetical order, so that every state within that geopolitical zone will one time or the other have a director representing them. And of course, Mr. Chairman, as executive directors. Mr. Chairman, we also added that each state should have 1 member on the board of the Nigerian Revenue Service, because it's now collecting revenue on behalf of the Federation, no longer just because of federal government. I think these are the major issues that we allow my colleagues, Sada or anybody to add. My leaders are also here. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for a good job. The third report to be considered is that of the Committee of Finance on a bill for an act to establish Joint Revenue Board, the Tax Appeal Tribunal, and the Office of the Tax Ombudsman for the harmonization, coordination, and settlement of disputes arising from revenue administration in Nigeria and for related matters. The Chair, please.
Only five issues were raised and amended, and thus amendments made to the Joint Revenue Board bill includes the following. Clause 25, qualification of a tax appeal commissioner. This section was amended by deleting the proposed paragraph C, currently contained in the FRS that it is the committee's opinion that showing capacity in the management of trade or business is not a standard qualification criteria for a tribunal commissioner, and as such expunged that provision. We believe that it should be more, and we said the person must be legally funds of the Office of the Tax Ombudsman. That is the alternative dispute resolution that we seek to have in our system. Where is the fund going to come from? We do not want the Nigerian Revenue Service to be paying, so that there will be no bias, because it's supposed to settle disputes between Nigerian Revenue Service and taxpayers. So the provision of the funding of the Ombudsman has been amended to expunge the following: all gift items, grants, and routing the fund through the Consolidated Revenue Fund, subject to the approval of the National Assembly. This is to ensure independence of the office and remove the likelihood of bias towards any party in the execution of its functions. Expenditure of the Office of the Tax Ombudsman. The committee has included additional expenses to be charged to the fund established for the Office of Ombudsman, including the cost of administration, pre-approved reimbursements to members of the board or any committee set up by the board. And paragraph 8 of the second schedule, which is also in the bill, the application of the Evidence Act. We made amendment to this provision to ensure that the provisions of Evidence Act are strictly adhered to during proceedings of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. And of course, we introduced a new provision. The committee has proposed an inclusion in the bill to provide for the funding of the Tax Appeal Tribunal through the Consolidated Revenue Fund to be appropriated by the National Assembly. This is to put an end to the current funding of the Tax Appeal Tribunal by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. This is, of course, to ensure independence and fairness. Mr. Chairman, this is my submission.
Thank you, Chairman Finance. Waste of time, honorable colleagues. We can start by looking at the clauses of this very important bill. And we have 159 clauses, the schedules, explanatory memoranda, and the long title. So we go ahead and start from clause 1. Clause 1, please. Clause 2. Clause 3. Clause 4. Clause 5. Clause 6. Clause 7. Clause 8. Clause 9. Clause 10. Clause 55. Clause 56. Clause 57. Clause 58. Clause 59. The schedules, the explanatory memorandum, the long title of the bill. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Carried is also carried. Thank you. And consolidate the legal frameworks relating to taxation and enact the Nigerian Tax Act to provide for taxation of income, transactions, and instruments, and for related matters. At this point, it's my pleasure again to call on the chairman of the Committee on Finance to give us a synopsis of this bill, all these amendments.
Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, it is a great pleasure to talk about this particular bill. Some of the sections there were part of those that generated some controversies. And I am happy to say that all those controversies were resolved without any complaint. So I want to call our members to please go to page 7, and you will permit me to read all the sections so that we are all on the same page. Page 7, Nigerian Tax Administration Bill. The following amendments were proposed by the committee under this bill. Section 7, or clause 7, issuance of taxpayer ID. The timeline to issue the tax ID to taxpayers has been reviewed from the bill, from the originally proposed timeline in the bill, from 2 working days to 5 working days, to allow the tax authorities some latitude and make room for possible eventualities. Similarly, any refusal to issue a tax ID must be accompanied by reasons for such refusal to be communicated to the taxpayer. Clause 11, income tax return for companies. The time frame within which a company ceasing business is required to file its returns is reduced from 6 months to 3 months to cut potential revenue loss from non-operational businesses. Before now, in the bill, they came up with, they proposed 6 months. If a company wants to stop operation, that should give notice, it should, the timeline within which to file the required returns is 6 months. We said no. We reduced it. The committee recommended 3 months. Value-added tax. For the purpose of attribution or distribution, the committee recommended that the place of consumption of taxable supplies will be the place of consumption for taxable supplies will be irrespective of where returns are filed. In other words, all companies located in Lagos, Port Harcourt, anywhere, despite the fact that returns are filed from wherever they are located, or Plateau State, despite the fact that returns are filed from their location,
even in Libya?
Sir?
Even if they are based in Libya.
So, we are there. Presently, sir, what the bill brought for us was to open up in terms of distribution for the consumption. That was what the president felt that needed to be done. And in his proposal, the president requested that the place of consumption should be the point of the derivation of the VAT. So now we have agreed that the clause we added is irrespective of where the returns is filed. And it's there, we have the interpretation clause, they are all there. VAT fiscalization system. The committee included the need for further regulations by the service to get referred to the relatively new provisions of introducing a fiscalization system. Mr. Chairman, sir, the present system where companies file returns without federal inland revenue actually knowing whether they made that money. We want to deviate. This bill is proposing that we deviate from it. For example, Mr. Chairman, most of our supermarkets that take VAT on behalf of government, they don't remit. And when they want to remit maybe 30%. So the Federal Inland Revenue did a practical example by going to a particular company, which I will not mention the name, and introduce their system into their own system. And they discovered that the company was actually remitting like 1/10 of what they ought to have been remitting. So we believe that if this is introduced by FRS to all commercial entities, Nigeria will stand to benefit. Mr. Chairman, sir, we added in the bill before you that all companies must give access. They must give access to Nigerian Revenue Service to all their computer. In other claims, Mr. Chairman, the moment you buy an airtime in point A, it is seen by their own revenue service. But here, you buy airtime in point A or point B, or even closer to the office of FRS, they don't get to know because the law does not allow them. Now we are giving them the power, if you approve, for this. So the era of underpayment, under remittance will be over, and it will lead to more revenue for Nigeria. Information to be delivered by bankers and others. An amendment was introduced to allay the concerns of taxpayers in respect of the proposed information to be provided by banks by including the language for the purpose of tax to ensure that the information is not used for the purposes other than that of which it was intended. Similarly, the qualifying threshold for reportable transactions has been increased from 25 million to 50 million. The bill came with every transaction of 25 million must be reported by the bank. The returns must be filed to Revenue Service, and we believe that it will be too cumbersome. Apart from that, so many of our local businessmen are doing more than 25 million. And so, is it that every time they have to file their returns? So we increase the threshold to 50 million, for individuals, and from 100 million to 250 million in the case of corporate entities. Accreditation of tax agents. The committee has proposed the deletion of subsection 5, which implies that tax agents may be accredited by the service notwithstanding the qualification, experience, and certification of such persons. This addresses the concerns around the possibility of unqualified persons being accredited as agents. Currency of assessments and payments. Amendments made to this section ensure that tax is assessed in the currency of transaction and any liability is paid in the same currency. There were proposals that if you are assessed in US dollar, you should pay Naira as your tax. We said no. If the assessment is in US or Euro or any currency, or Shen or whatever the currencies are, you pay in that currency. And this, we believe, will assist us in our revenue. power to distrain, inclusion of the mandatory need for the tax authority to seek and obtain an order of the court before proceeding to sell movable assets belonging to taxpayers. The bill came with seeking our approval to sell anybody's property who refused to pay tax. And we said, no, there must be a court order for that purpose. That's the recommendation. Enforcement of powers. A new subsection has been proposed by the committee to provide for the taxpayer's obligation to provide password, access codes, and any such relevant details to access electronically stored information. This is deemed particularly important in view of the phasing out of manual storage of records and the increased volume of taxpayers' information stored electronically in computers and on the cloud. Power of the president or governor to remit taxes. Inclusion of the need to obtain the approval of National Assembly and States, House of Assembly for federal and state taxes, respectively, where the president or governor intends to remit. We argue on this, but we felt, let us just bring it to the floor because we felt that there was no need to seek approval of national to remit taxes, but it's there for us. Power of the president to exempt companies from income tax. Inclusion of the need to obtain the approval of National Assembly where the president intends to exempt any person or class of income or profits from tax. In other words, if any company seeks to invest or you want to give tax credit to that person, you need to seek a National Assembly approval so that we don't continue to deplete our revenue and income. President, but yes. The power of the Accountant General to deduct at source. Similar to the above, the Accountant General is required to receive a resolution from the National Assembly in order to deduct any unremitted revenue due from MDAs. Mr. Chairman, sir, from our practice, we discovered that most of our agencies, they make revenue, but they don't remit. They spend the revenue. And unfortunately, they will claim that it is us that give them approval. We don't give such approval. So we are now saying that they must come to the National Assembly. The Accountant General has the power from by our resolution to deduct any of such money at source. Distribution of VAT revenue. For VAT purposes, a new basis for the distribution of the 55% and 35% respectively for state and local government allocation has been introduced thus. 50% to be distributed equally, 20% to be distributed based on population, 30% to be distributed based on consumption. Emphasis has also been placed on the actual place of consumption, irrespective of where the returns are filed. As provided by stakeholders and our governors and the Governors Forum. Offenses and penalties. The committee has proposed that the interest charge as a fine for contravening the law to be at the prevailing CBN monetary policy rate, rather than the initially proposed 2% above prevailing rates. Mr. Chairman, I think that every other sections there, because they are so, the critical areas are the ones I have mentioned. Mr. Chairman, may also interest you to note that we proposed for our military men and women, especially those in war fronts, that in view of what they are going through, there is no sacrifice that is too much. And we propose that their payee, personal income tax, they be exempted from personal income tax. Henceforth, this is our submission, Chairman and honorable colleagues. Thank you.
From what you said, you will agree with me that the committee has done a very commendable job in identifying and addressing areas that Nigerians generally complain during the public hearing. And with your kind permission, we can go ahead now and give our consent to these bills. The clauses affected as per this bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill are in respect of clauses 1 to 143, 315, 383, and 387. Those are the affected clauses. So we go ahead and take decisions on them one after the other.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, who is raising a point of order?
Yes.
Yes,
there was
please.
a part in the bill that he said there was no decision on, he left it to the House. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Mr. Speaker.
There was a position where we said that powers of the president and the governors to remit taxes. We put in the bill that they need to seek National Assembly's approval before they can remit their taxes. And I felt, after the sitting that we have done and a review, we felt that why do they need to seek our approval to remit their obligations? That remitting taxes is their natural obligation. That's why I raised the issue.
But a position was taken. They took a position on what needs to be done. I think that's
okay,
what
very
they're
good,
saying.
sir. Very good, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, honorable colleagues, please can we proceed? Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3, Clause 4, Clause 5, Clause 6, Clause 7, Clause 8,
Carried.
Clause 9,
Carried.
Clause 10,
Carried.
Clause 11,
Carried.
Clause 11 to 15,
Carried.
16 to 20,
Carried.
21 to 25.
The fiscalization policy that is contained in this very important document. Mr. Speaker, before highlighting what is put down here, I'll have to commend the committee for removing all the issues, all the areas that have issues. We commend them for doing that. And I will go to their recommendation, where it says, where the service deploys an electronic fiscal system, any person making a taxable supply shall use the EFS for recording and reporting all supplies. Mr. Chairman, in other laws that this Parliament has passed, more especially the Finance Act, the Karma Act, and of course the People Living with Disabilities Act, majority of them have a moratorium in those laws because of the punishable component of it, which is going to come in Section 99. But here it captures where it deploys. Notwithstanding, I think I would like the chair or members to look at the possibility of having a moratorium with regards to implementing fiscalization. I'm insisting because there is a penalty that is in this law already in Section 99. We'll get there. So that is my own suggestion to Honorable Chairman.
Where they didn't do it, people are not liable. So where they did it, where they did the fiscalization, they are sure the technology has reached there. I think that's the key word there is where. Remove any other thing there. The question is, if they didn't deploy fiscalization or the technology to Wuse market, people will not be penalized for not declaring. But where they deploy the technology, people are liable to comply because they know the technology is present in that location. I think that's the whole idea. Yes, that was the argument.
Okay, so you have had the explanation from... So, honorable colleagues, let's make progress. 26 to 30, carried. 31 to 35, carried. 36 to 40, 41 to 45, 46 to 50, 51 to 55, 56 to 60, 61 to 65, 66 to 70, 71 to 75, 76 to 80, 81 to 85, 86 to 90. Carried. 91 to 95. 96 to 100. 101 to 110. 111 to 120. 130 to 140. 141. 142. 143. 315. 383. 387. The schedules, explanatory memorandum, the long title of the bill. Thank you very much. Thank you for carrying. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for a good job. Thank you all.
Carried.
Thank you.
First, let me appreciate the leadership of the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, especially for trusting us with this all-important bill to process it and, of course, lay before the House. Of course, let me also say thank you to Mr. President for considering it worthy to amend our tax laws. Tax laws have been as old as 1959, some 1960 something, even before I was born. And we cannot continue to operate with those tax laws that are archaic to our business, our survival, and of course our revenue targets that we all seek to achieve. Well, the process for the four bills that were laid before us, the Nigerian tax bill, the tax administration bill, the joint revenue tax board, and of course the establishment bill of the Nigerian Revenue Service. You recall that this was laid before us. I mean, the first time it was read was last year, October, and of course it was a turmoil. Thereafter, Nigeria went through a lot of debates. This is the only bill that has generated a lot of interest from all Nigerians. Recall that this bill was brought shortly after one of the African countries experienced a similar reform. And of course, Nigeria, when the bill came, it was an issue that generated a lot of interest from all walks of life, especially our key stakeholders, the governors and everything. And Mr. Speaker, in his magnanimity, of course, felt that we needed to do more consultation, and he took it upon himself to go around every stakeholder to let them know what he has read in the bill, and areas of concern should be submitted to the National Assembly for possible amendments. And when these were done, so many of the stakeholders, of course, wrote and submitted their own proposals. Then we read on the floor, which was committed to us, the Committee of Finance and the Special Committee members. And this bill, we took 3 full days public hearing. We took memoranda from more than 80 stakeholders, critical stakeholders, and after the 3 days, we resorted into a retreat where we locked ourselves in rooms for 1 full week, from Sunday to Sunday, debating every clause, every section of the bill, of each of the bills. And I'm glad to say that our members saw what we have done. They saw that we've done a thorough job, and they approved all our recommendations. So we want to appreciate our members, we want to appreciate every Nigerian for showing interest in this bill. And of course, we are sure that the bill or the law that will come after this will be acceptable by all Nigerians.
think in the 10th Assembly we've had any proposals, either from the executive or from private member bills, that has elicited the kind of interest that these bills elicited. And because of that, the approach definitely was different. What the House tried to do is to build consensus even before going to the second hearing stage. And I think the leadership, especially the Speaker and the leadership of the committee, did exceptionally well in building consensus. By the time we got to the public hearing, just like my chairman mentioned, we had lots of input from critical stakeholders, and those things form the basis for what we have today that has been widely accepted by members of the committee. So the key thing is building consensus, and I think as a committee we're able to do that. In the wisdom of the Speaker, he expanded the membership of the committee. We had interest groups from each geopolitical zone. We had regional leaders that worked together with the committee, and of course that actually allayed the fears of some of the critical stakeholders from outside. And like I said, what we did was an offshoot of the submissions that we got from the public. It was never seen as a perfect document. It was a proposal from the executive, and the public hearing provided the Nigerians with the space to actually make it a better document. And I think from what we have seen today, you could see that the whole country represented by the whole members of the House have actually acceded and assented to what we brought forward before the House.
You recall that initially we had issues with people talking about NIDA, NASENI, TET Fund, inheritance tax issues, consumption, derivation. Everything was laid to rest. We moved, we shifted, we all agreed, there was consensus. You understand? So Mr. Speaker is right. Every shade of Nigeria was represented in that deliberation. And you can see from the clause-by-clause readings today that there was no dissecting voice. We were all saying carried. So indeed, it's a good day for Nigeria. The injection that Nigeria needs for it to move into the Committee of Nations has been applied. The House of Reps has sanctioned it, so we wait on the Senate to do the same.
The process was very transparent, and they engaged us from beginning. Even when there were reservations, both the chairman of the committee, both the consultant, both the executive adjusted to reflect the desire of Nigerian people. And I can tell you boldly that even though we are from the opposition, we are so proud of this historic moment that is going to bring more people into the tax net, and is going to create more revenue for effective running of government. And there's going to be efficiency in tax collecting system, and even small businesses are also well protected. So to me, this is very historic, and that is why all of us worked with the government and our colleagues to see that it's set through today.
Some quick pics from the submitted report now displayed on your screen.
Procedure now ends larger chunk of processes leading to passage of the bills by the National Assembly and subsequent signing by the President. We go over now to the Red Chamber for some top proceedings within the week. First spot here quickly is presentation of a bill on gender equity as being sponsored by the only senator for the FCT, Senator Ubeti Kingdebe.
Colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Most Distinguished Senator Kingdebe Ureti Heba, our able and indefatigable chairman of the Senate Committee on Women Affairs, on the Gender Equity Bill 2025 SB 743. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Gender Equity Bill 2025, SB 743, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Gender Equity Bill 2025, SB 743, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
There was also a matter of urgent public importance bordering on security in Benue State. Senator Titus Zam, representing Benue Northeast, presented the motion. This attracted a brief debate and amendment by senators before adoption. Here.
Urgent need for the federal government to deploy troops to immediately restore law and order in Gwe West Local Government Area of Benue State. the Senate knows that the peace-loving people of Garuwa community in the formation local government area of Benue State were invaded by bandits masquerading as herders on Monday, 10th March 2025, resulting in the killing of 4 persons. Also knows that yesterday, irate youths took to the streets in protest against the continued killing of the people and government's seeming inability to protect them. The Senate may further note that the youth, in anger and frustration, burned down the Gwe West Local Government Secretariat, the palace of the paramount ruler of the local government area, my private residence, and houses of other prominent sons in the local government area, accusing us of inability to safeguard the community. Aware that I have on several occasions moved motions and presented bills on this subject matter, including bill on open grazing prohibition and ranches establishment, which is awaiting public hearing.
I rise to second this motion on a very, very sad note that the continued silence and inaction on the part of the government of Benue State is snowballing into the citizens resorting to attacking elected representatives and residents of the various communities under siege. And so, Mr. President, I want to say that we owe it a responsibility to condemn these activities and to ensure that we advise appropriately various governments, especially the Benue State government in this particular instance, to take appropriate steps to safeguard the lives and properties of the citizens. I so submit, Mr. President.
The prayers. Observe a minute silence in honor of the deceased. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. 2. Urge the security agencies to restore law and order in Kwe West local government area or Benue State with immediate effect. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Amendment. Yes, Senator Udende.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the amendment proposed by Senator Udende. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been amended, or the prayer 2 has been amended to say that we should urge the security agencies to restore law and order in Kwe West local government area of Benue State and other areas affected by insecurity, insurgency, and banditry with immediate effect. Those in support of the prayer as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3 also urged the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to immediately send relief materials to the affected communities. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So, distinguished colleagues, prayer 4 is amended to read, urge the Benue State government to enforce its open grazing prohibition and ranches establishment law. Those in support of the prayer as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5, mandate the Committee on Agriculture to visit Kwe West local government and have a first-hand assessment of the situation in sympathy with the bereaved families and all those affected by the crisis, and also to expedite action on the open grazing provision bill for its quick passage into law. Those in support of prayer 5 say aye. I have a problem with prayer 5. It is not the Committee on Agriculture. It should be the Committee on National Security. Chairman, Committee on National Security. We should mandate our Committee on National Security and Intelligence in combination with other committees of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and Defense to visit the areas affected, undertake assessment of the situation, sympathize with the bereaved families, and those affected, and it also urged the Benue State government to expedite action on its open grazing prohibition law. Those in support of the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5 is also amended. So let me thank Senator Omer. Additional prayer, yes. Those in support of the additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So once again, let me thank distinguished Senator Zam and also sympathize with the good people of Benue State, particularly Kwe West local government area, over this attack, the killings and destruction of properties, and hope that with the resolutions of today, that succor will come to the people there, and the military base will be established in order to save lives and forestall future occurrences.
Well, while we exit the red chamber, I would like to let you know that the senators at some point, precisely on Wednesday during the plenary, will vetted to close the session to deal with some matters of urgent national importance. Again, as has been our tradition, and for want of time, we have put together for you only the top proceedings at both chambers within the week. We picked from a couple of issues covering a range of concerns as urgent mentions, or on the other paper at the plenary and others at the committees within the week. On that note, we call it a day today on the news and hope to meet you again Friday next week at 8 p.m. In the meantime, visit our YouTube channel, ASO Radio and Television, to watch all previous editions. I am Rosemary Ukopitega. Bye.
you.